Welcome to this edition of the HR Directors Summit podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the importance of workplace culture and how to transform that culture with Heartstyles founder Stephen Klemick. Welcome, Stephen.
Hello, Owen.
So, Stephen, perhaps you could explain what you think the biggest challenges organisations face today are.
Well, obviously there's multiple challenges with the competitive marketplace we're in, but I think one of the big challenges is employee engagement, and people are doing engagement surveys and satisfaction surveys, and we see that getting the hearts and the minds of the current generations to be engaged in the workplace is one of the biggest challenges, and one of the biggest hidden costs in business today is ineffective behaviour or ineffective culture. So, there's a lot of need to gain and retain talent, to get an environment of innovation, to get a competitive advantage through heartfelt service. And I think all of those things, to be able to unlock the potential of people, to be able to get a culture of honour, that we call it, resilience and grit, all of those things to me combine around this whole thing that we're talking about these days of culture. And if you look at the last 10 or so Harvard Business Reviews, I think 8 of them are all talking about engagement and culture. So I think it's a real challenge for organisations today to try and capture, as I said, the hearts and the minds of the current generations, to be connected and engaged with the brand, with the customer, with what they're doing in the workplace.
Culture can mean different things to different people, as you've sort of expanded on. To you, what do you see as culture?
Yeah, that is a really good question. First of all, we believe culture is behaviours. A lot of people are doing a lot of things that we call artefacts. So, if you come to a groovy work environment where there are pool tables and there's beer on tap 24/7 and casual clothes and all those types of artefacts to try and develop culture. And we actually see there an outcome of culture. The real heart of culture we see as behaviour, and whether that behaviour is effective or ineffective. So a lot of organisations are doing engagement surveys or satisfaction surveys, and again, we believe they are an outcome of culture. So the core, the absolute core of culture is whether people can come to work and behave constructively and effectively or destructively. And so many times you're standing around a dinner party or a barbecue and people are talking about how toxic the culture is. And if you boil down to that, it's not about the pool tables or the artifacts, it's about behaviours that are happening in the organisation. So simply put, we believe the combined behaviours of people in the organisation or people in a team. You only need 2 or 3 people in a team and you've got a culture. And as they say, you cannot not have a culture. It's either going to be effective or ineffective, or 1 week effective and 1 week not effective. But to us, the thing boils down to being able to measure and manage behaviours, which of course accumulates into the culture of an organisation or a team.
And why, as a business leader, would they want to change the culture of an organisation?
Well, I think at first it's answer to get engagement, of course. Obviously, if you're going to get engagement, you would expect that out of engagement and out of having a constructive culture, effective people drive effective results. And obviously, as a business leader, we're a very results-orientated business. The language of business is money, so we need to obviously get performance out of an effective culture. But I also think there's more to it than that. If a business leader is getting the results, are they doing that in the right way? Are they leaving a legacy that's changing people's lives? Are they doing something, as we say, purpose beyond profit and meaning beyond money? And for the employees, their purpose beyond pay. So, yes, the first and foremost thing is to get an effective culture with effective people driving effective results. And we, obviously, I think everybody these days realizes that culture has a huge impact on results. But the heart of it, and the reason we called our brand Heartstyles, is that out of the heart of it, are we developing people beyond the workplace? Are we developing people in their style of parenting, their style of being a partner, their style of being a leader? Is that style coming from the heart? And I think if you're a heart-led leader, you would resonate with what I'm saying, that there's a legacy to leave as a heart-led leader. And let's get the performance, but let's do more than that. Let's create a culture of honor. And in that culture, is there more sustainability? And we see so often that decisions out of an ineffective and toxic culture cost the organization an enormous amount. And there's plenty of examples going on in business today where we're seeing those examples. You're going to pick up the paper to see that. So I think a business leader, we call it heart and smart. The heart, of course, is to have a legacy. The smart is obviously to drive results.
So if the leadership have realised that maybe the toxic culture isn't present, or at least the culture is not what they would like it to be in the organisation, how do they go about changing that culture?
Yeah, well, that's the next big thing, Owen, that people say, well, what is my culture and can we measure that? And obviously if you can measure it, you can manage it. The next thing is, well, how do we change culture? How do we get people engaged? And that's where, to us, it's being able to equip people to be able to understand effective and ineffective behavior. And that's not personality type. I think a lot of people have done the personality type profile and the personality tool and understanding different personalities. What we're talking about with culture is different to that. No matter what my personality is, when I come into the workplace, am I going to use that personality in a constructive, adult-to-adult manner? And that's what we call an above-the-line and a constructive behaviours. Or do I bring that personality along and I'm defensive? And out of that defensiveness, we create all of the political games that we play, and we put on our masks and we start being approval-seeking or controlling or demanding and all of those. So what we believe how to change culture, of course, is to change behavior, not personalities, but for people to know what does it look like to come to the workplace and be constructive. What are those behaviors that drive constructiveness? Conversely, what are those behaviors that drive destructiveness? What are the behaviors that we've learnt and modeled? And in some cases, we've paid and rewarded people to be more destructive to just drive results. And of course, as I said earlier, the current generation sees through that. The current generations are saying, I'm not going to work in an environment where you've just got control freaks demanding this and demanding that. I want to come to the workplace and be engaged. I want to come to the workplace and be involved and work with constructive leaders. We still need leaders, we still need people to make decisions, but can they do that in a constructive manner, or is it done in a destructive manner? And as I said, in some ways we've rewarded destructive behavior in the past because it just gets results. So how do we change culture? We believe you've got to measure the culture, activate learning programs, and cultivate. We call it MACP, to drive performance. Let's measure, activate, and cultivate. And putting those programs in place, we're seeing the work that we're doing. We're seeing huge behavioural change from leaders, which once leaders start changing, we start to see people being engaged. And all of a sudden, as an organisation, our culture is shifting into a constructive place just through behavioural change and being able to equip leaders to know how to measure and manage, to give leaders a tool. it's incredible these days that part of being a leader, part of your brief is to create a constructive culture. But leaders are ill-equipped. They're not given a tool. They're not psychologists. Most of them are very task-driven operators, and they're not given or equipped in being able to manage culture. And that's what we've been doing, and we've been seeing some great results for people and organisations in doing that.
I guess the key question is, how can leadership know if they have a healthy or unhealthy culture, where they're starting from, and then when they're trying to get to?
Yeah. Well, of course, it goes back to the old adage that if you can measure it, you can manage it, and what gets measured in business gets managed. And that's been around for a long time. But, Owen, it's very, very important that we're not just using a pie-in-the-sky type of survey. Now, of course, this is where it brings us back to Heartstyles, because Heartstyles is a tool that we've developed. It took 18 years' work and research to have a tool that is very analytically measured. It is statistically validated, reliable tool to be able to measure these 8 behaviours that are effective and the 8 behaviours that are ineffective. So how do you know if you've got a healthy or unhealthy culture? You need to get a reliable instrument and a reliable tool that you can get people to complete the survey. And in completing a survey, we always ask people to say, what is your aspiration? What is the culture that you would aspire to as an organisation? So that's the first part of a survey. The second part is, of course, what do you currently have at the moment? And the beautiful thing about that is if everybody in the organisation sets the benchmark and says, this is our aspiration, the senior leadership team is not setting that aspiration, the consultants are not coming in and setting that aspiration, but the people in the organisation and in each team are setting that benchmark. Then they can have a look at what they believe their operating culture is at the moment, and we've then got a gap analysis. So the best thing that we can do is accurately measure it. The organisations we've worked with are measuring their profit and loss every year. They measure their culture every year, and seeing the correlations to those areas, locations, departments that have got a healthy culture, they're driving healthy results. So, and that's where if we can measure the culture, measure the results, and put them side by side and correlate. So it's a very analytical process, and I think in the past HR has been criticised for being touchy-feely and pie in the sky, and the management team are looking for analytical data, and fortunately that's what we've got now, where a HR practitioner and the management team can say, so what are the analytics, what are the data on a location or a department for the culture, what is the aspiration, what is the operating culture, and then of course we're saying, well, what have we got to do to shift that culture? So it becomes quite an analytical process, as I said, for the total organisation, for departments and for locations, and it's done annually. So every year, and of course we have a lot of cynicism out there these days. People look at another survey, and of course the first place people roll their eyes and go, oh my God, not another survey. And I say to CEOs and HR directors, if you don't do this consistently year after year, it actually does more damage to your culture. So we say to people, if you're going to measure your culture, do it this year, do it next year, do it the year after. We've got one client who's, I think, into 16 years, and the reason for that is we develop a language, we've got a common language, a common tool, we can compare ourselves year after year, we've got a benchmark, as I said, that we set, the people set, not the consultant, not the CEO, and year by year by year, we start to move the needle towards a more constructive culture. And then it becomes habitual. New people who come into the organisation come into that language, they come into the culture, they get to understand the tool, and it becomes part of the HR processes. So that's a long answer to what measures why do I got a healthy or unhealthy culture. But as I said, if you can measure it, you can manage it, and what gets measured gets managed. So if I was the department head, it would be great to know the culture of my department and have my team around me saying, well, this is what we aspire to. What can we continue to do to head towards that aspiration?
Finally then, what would you like to be known for your impact on the workplace then?
Well, yeah, that's a nice question. Well, we believe we're leading giving new meaning, I suppose, to the term HR. We're leading the heart revolution, and I know it's a bit of a pun on HR, but I suppose what we would like to be known for is to develop more heart and soul back into the business environment, and for organisations to see that if we do capture the hearts and the minds of people, they will get engagement. And the heart revolution will continue to create innovation and attract talent, retain talent. And it will make the world a better place. We're sending people home to their families and home to society as bigger, better people. So Heartstyles, I suppose, as we're saying, to lead this heart revolution, yes, we want organisations to be great. We want organisations to get great results and prosper. But it's also having this part where we're doing more. We're changing lives and developing character of individuals in our organisations, and they're going home to, as I said, their families, to be more effective partners, to be more effective parents. And this is the continuous feedback that we get from this sort of work. And for a CEO and a leadership team to get more satisfaction out of their role than just making the organisation wealthy and themselves wealthy. But we have CEOs and senior people on the team right through the organisation saying that the most rewarding thing I've done is being able to develop somebody. And I suppose that's what we would like to be known for. That's what I'd like to be known for, as someone who's led the Heart Revolution, developed this tool, and it's changing lives, it's changing culture, it's changing business, and all around making the world a better place.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you.